Hello and welcome back to Green Money Momentum, where we talk about market movements, making money, and money momentum. I'm your host, Trevor, and we are here for yet another daily talk of stock. And today it is Wednesday, June 25th. And as you can see by the heat map on screen here, we had an overall red day in the markets, but not really too bad because overall we have seen a lot of green this week. So Monday was very green, Tuesday was very green, but today a little bit of a sell-off. So the market's taking back some of the gains that we have seen over the last few days. And when we look at the economic calendar, we did have news around new home sales today, and it did come in lower than the projection, which was at 695. It came in at 623,000. So some pressure building within the housing market, and a lot of it does have to do with the interest rates from the Fed. So as you can see here, the average rate on the 30-year fixed mortgage hovered around 7% for much of May. So this is why many investors are wanting to see a rate cut, because it will help with overall borrowing costs. And with the housing market, there is a lot of pressure because of the high rates. Many investors who bought properties many years ago when the rates were much lower during 2020 don't want to get rid of those properties, and many who have not entered into the housing market or are looking to even purchase more houses are waiting to pull the trigger just because of these high rates for purchasing a home. So some pressure there in the housing market. Overall, we could see there was a 13% drop in May, 13% drop in May compared with April as well. So overall, the housing market looking a little bit bearish in that sector of the economy. Things aren't looking the best, but overall, I encourage investors to have a long picture mentality. So if you feel any fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the housing market, say you are someone who has yet to get into a house, or say you do have a property, you're having a hard time getting it out of your hands, whatever your position is, just remember that the markets are long term. So right now, while there is this pressure and we are more in a buyer's market, this could potentially just be a little bit of a dip for more of the rip that is going to come, because overall, just like inflation rises, so will asset prices. So many times investors and just a lot of members of society will talk about inflation and how horrible it is, and just talk about things that are in terms of liabilities, at the cost of gas, at the cost of food, at the cost of owning a car, everything, ownership, house ownership, everything like that, right? But that is just what it is. That is just inflation. And while liabilities rise with price, so do assets. So if you're not already involved in the housing market, study up, get your education on there, because if you do get involved with the housing market, as many real estate investors and brokers talk, the housing market always goes up over time, just like the stock market. And right now, talking about the stock market, many investors are feeling greedy right now. So we are at levels of greed on the fear and greed index. And I believe that this is just a show of the sentiment that is building within our rise to all-time highs in the S&P 500 and the SPY. So when we look at the SPY, we can see that recently we broke past the level of 600. So right back at the levels we were at before the big retraction that we did have in the early parts of the year. And this is why myself, I am bullish on the markets over the long term. And during this big bleed, I encouraged investors to stay patient and even open positions during this time, because the markets are always perpetual and they always go on forever. So just like I was talking about the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the housing market, fear, uncertainty, and doubt around inflation, many will look at the president and think that he has all the power to turn down the price of gas or the price of eggs. They think that the president is there behind the desk and he has a little knob to turn down the gas prices at the pump. It doesn't work like that. The reason why inflation is so bad is not because of anything Trump is doing, is not because of anything Biden is doing, not because of anything Obama did, but because of everything they all did combined. So I guess it is what they did, but it's everything they're all doing together. So some like to cherry pick sometimes and say, oh, the price of this is because of Biden, or oh, the price of this is because of Trump. But that is a ridiculous argument. And as we can see here on screen, I just have the stock market with its performance over time. So the markets always continue to go up despite what the government does when it comes in terms of kicking the can down the road. A lot of investors recently had a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the United States debt going from 36 trillion to 37 trillion. But just like everything else, that will only continue to go on. The debt will only continue to raise, but the U.S. government will continue to find ways to get past that, whether that's raising the debt ceiling or doing other tactics when it comes to money manipulation and money printing. And so overall, very bullish on the markets over the long term. I don't think anything today is anything to worry about. And when we look at the story of the markets throughout the year, things are getting better. And I believe that the major buying opportunities were earlier, right after Liberation Day, and we're only continuing on that forward upwards momentum towards higher highs. With that, we're going to talk about a couple different plays that we're very bullish on. We're going to talk about that fella back there, Mr. Big Bear. We're going to talk about D-Wave Quantum, QBTS, and we're going to finish with Circle Internet Group. So we're going to start out here with the Big Bear. And I know many investors are very excited with what we have been seeing with BigBearAi, because Big Bear shot all the way up to $5 yesterday and then had massive green candlesticks in the morning. So leading into the pre-market and right at market open, there was a drop, but we saw a price for the Big Bear all the way up to $5.80 today. So now the highest level of resistance that we will be trying to battle past is at 580. Big Bear did drop some today down to about 470. Currently, as I record this video, seeing a little bit of a recovery in the after hours at 490, but most of the day it is sat at 475 to 485, which is looking to be around the new resistance or the new support slash resistance in BigBearAi. So the new support going to be sitting right around $4.70. It will be interesting to see where we open tomorrow and to see whether the markets will be bullish or bearish. In a bearish case scenario, I could see Big Bear dropping back down to $4.50. And in the bullish case scenario, I could see us going back to $5 and sticking there. But right now, we are at an interesting spot in the Big Bear because we could see that we are building on this upwards bullish trend. And what is really exciting with the Big Bear is we are looking a bit overbought on the relative strength index, but with today's retraction, we did come back down there. And then we do have a lot more room to run when it comes to the MACD. And yesterday, BigBearAi had its 25% jump off of no major catalyst around this company. So it was just the overall macroeconomic bullish sentiment that pushed Big Bear up so high. And why that is so positive is there is a lot of buying pressure within the Big Bear, a lot of momentum, a lot of volume going into the Big Bear. Currently, we are right under $5, so we are not even at the 52-week high. But with all the buying momentum, with everything going on, we have a higher short interest than ever before. So we currently have a short interest on the Big Bear at 27%. That is really significant because as there is more volume pouring into Big Bear, and if the price stays elevated at these higher levels, 485 and beyond, this is only going to put more pressure on these shorts to have to cover their positions, which could lead to a big squeeze within the Big Bear. And so overall, this positive bullish trend upwards has been very great. We have been seeing a lot of buildup, and I believe that if at any point coming up there is a positive catalyst from Big Bear, especially when it comes for something to do with financials, whether it's a big contract they get with the government, whether the CEO Kevin comes out with some bullish statements, or if there's anything involved with the government, if they come out with any catalyst, any big positive news, I could see a massive rip up in the Big Bear. And personally, I believe what we are seeing right now in the short-term trend, I believe that we are seeing a bullish flag build up. So with today's retraction, I believe this is just building us up for the breakout that is to come into the Big Bear. So very excited for Big Bear. I am amazed that we have seen these prices without any major catalysts around the stock again. So very positive. And this is right now, if you are investing into Big Bear, I believe you are investing into a great opportunity, because currently this stock is under $5, and the big catalysts that we know that will actually be on the calendar coming up will be their next big earnings report, which is not till the end of next month, leading into August. So some opportunity for investors to hop in before there are any big catalysts or before a potentially big earnings report from the Big Bear. So myself, I am very bullish on the Big Bear. Like I've said, if you've ever paid attention to my background, I have a Feng Shui bowl there with Mr. Big Bear right there. So a shout out to the Big Bear. And with that, we're now going to hop into our next stock, which is QBTS D-Wave Quantum. My voice was getting a little raspy there. So anyway, with D-Wave, you know, I was talking about the stock a lot last month, and that was because we were at these lower levels. So in D-Wave Quantum, we have had this long-term trend building up with this level of support and this higher level of resistance. So in May, we talked a lot about D-Wave because they did have an earnings report coming up, and they were at this level of support. Well, we did see a 200% pop within this stock, but since that moment we have only seen retraction. And the reason why I haven't been covering D-Wave and Quantum as much is because a lot of the positive catalysts and a lot of the news around Quantum was really hot last month. But of course there are trends in the market, and there is always something happening in the market. So Quantum hasn't been as hot lately, but overall I still see there being a lot of intrinsic value in Quantum. And overall, the society we live in is going closer to automation, AI, and robotics, and quantum computing being right up there with it. So D-Wave Quantum has annealing quantum computers. These could work right alongside classical computers and help to solve a lot of real world problems. So with the society that we're going into being a lot around AI and robotics and big computers and everything like that, I believe that QBTS is positioning themselves perfectly with their annealing quantum computers, as they're working alongside a lot of big commercial industries as well. But in the short term, there has been some bleeding in this stock. We have fallen under what was the major level of resistance earlier in the year, and then currently has been the major level of support. And so what I actually drew out in yesterday's video, I think that we're going to see a drawdown. Yesterday it would be about a 20% drawdown. Today, from where we got hit, it would be about a, give me a second to get this. Oh, there's two on here. Okay, it'd be about a 9% drawdown to this level middle of support that we wrote a lot around 12 to 13, or around $11 to $12 at this middle level of support right here. So I personally believe that D-Wave Quantum and QBTS is going to fall back to this level right here. And overall, when we do look at the relative strength index and the MACD, we have been falling on those indicators. So I believe that this is a positive. I am very bullish on Quantum over the long term. I did sell a big portion of my position at this high level of resistance to take some profits, and now that we are trailing down, I may be looking to re-enter with a big position soon. I'm going to first wait for confirmation to see if we get around these levels of around $11 or so before I enter into a position, but the technicals are lining up very well, and overall the sector of quantum over the last year has been absolutely insane. And like I'm saying, when it comes to tech and the society that we are going into, quantum computing holds a lot of value. The one downside with QBTS is recently they did enter into a big $400 million sales agreement, which could dilute the shares a bit. So an offering for some investors to purchase into D-Wave, essentially they would be offering more shares. And I do hate dilution, and this could hurt the price in short-term movements, but also with dilution, we need to remember that many times when these companies do decide to do a big investment and offer shares, they are also using this capital to improve their product. And so with D-Wave, I believe that is exactly what they will be doing. And even though there could be some dilution and the shares will be expanded, I am overall very bullish, and I do believe that the momentum will only continue, as well as the volume that goes into quantum computing. And so talking about volume, we're going to finish with this last stock here, Circle Internet Group, which has seen a ton of volume. At one point this month was up 600%. So this stock IPO'd at around $30 and jumped all the way up to 300, currently sitting at 200. So there has been a bit of a retraction this week and a little bit of sell-off today. This is a relatively new company, so when we look at the history of the chart, not really much to go off. I have a small position in Circle Internet Group, and the reason why is because if you don't know what Circle Internet Group is, they recently just had a bill which got passed by the Senate, and this is all to do with stable coins and US dollar coin. And the reason why they're looking to have this bill pass through the House next and to make it official is because what it does is it enables US businesses and consumers to take advantage of the next generation of financial innovation and protect consumers and enable responsible innovation and safeguard the dominance of the US dollar. So overall, this is going to help cut a lot of the gray area out when it comes to stable coins and just make it easier for banks and others to transact with it, making US dollar coin really more tied to the US dollar, making it more official. And so with the news of this being passed by the Senate, the stock had this massive rip right off the initial public offering in anticipation. And then with the news right here, when it did get passed, it ripped even harder. And so now it just has to go through this the House and then the president. And I believe that it is going to get passed by both the House and the president and be made official, because with the House, it's a lot easier to pass these this type of bill. And the president is very pro crypto. He is the most pro crypto president of all time. And so I believe we are only pushing more into the mass adoption into cryptocurrency. Again, this is a fairly new place, so I have a relatively small position, but with the event that will be coming to the White House soon enough, with that bill, I am investing into this opportunity in anticipation for that. And so those are my three stocks for the day. I would be curious to hear what everyone else thinks if you're invested into BigBearAi, if you have any investments into quantum, or if you're invested into Circle Internet Group. Again, I am very bullish on all three of these plays. I am very bullish on the short term for BigBearAi, and I think there's a lot building up within that stock. I think we are seeing a lot of bullish momentum and possibly a bull flag building here for even greater gains to come. When it comes to quantum, I am still invested in the quantum, but a smaller position right now, and I am just waiting for confirmation to enter with a bigger position and with some options contracts, because I believe that the quantum sector will continue to rip this year and will continue to rip as the years go on, and quantum computing will only become more of a part of our lives, especially with these big corporations, just like all of AI is. And then the last thing, Circle Internet Group. Of course, we are pushing more into the mass adoption into cryptocurrency, and that only helps with that. So please let me know what you guys think about all three of these plays in the comment section below, or anything else. So please drop that comment, please leave a like, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I thank you guys all, as always, so much for being here for this daily talk of stock, and I will see you guys in the next video.